Welcome to your next step up the self-publishing mountain.
I'm Matilda Swift, author of quintessentially British cozy mysteries.
And I'm Samantha Cummings, author of young adult books about magic, myths and monsters.
I've written the books,
Changed their covers,
tweaked their blurbs,
tried tools from a dozen ads courses.
and I'm still not seeing success.
Now, we're working together to plot and plan our way from barely making ends meet to pulling in a living wage.
Join us on our journey where we'll be mastering the pen to snag that paycheck. Hello and welcome to Pen to Paycheck Authors Podcast. I'm Matilda Swift, here with my co-host Samantha Cummings, and we're here to write our way to financial success. We're two indie authors with over a dozen books between us, and still a long way to go towards the quit the day job dream. If that sounds familiar, listen along for our Mastery Through Missteps journey. Each week we cover a topic to help along the way. This week's topic is social media and branding. Before that, what are your wins and whinges of the week?
I have no whinges, only wins, because today I wrote 7,000 words in
Wow.
one sitting. I say one sitting. I did break it up. And finished my book with a week to spare before it has to go to the editors. I was just writing the end, like the last couple of chapters. But yeah, I sat down today and I knew I had 3 chapters to write just to finish it. And I thought, I'm just gonna do that today. And yeah, I got to come in the office and tick off all of my beat sheet things. I was like, yep, hit every single one. Yeah, I'm feeling very excited. I was a little bit sad because I've been writing these books for what feels like 10 years. So I'm kind of sad that the story's over, but I'm so
There's always like
excited.
novellas, spin-offs.
Yes, yeah, I do have some little short stories planned, and who knows, maybe people will eventually find the series and love it, and I could write new books. There's scope for it, of course. But yeah, I finished feeling like a winner, and I had a little glass of port to celebrate because, you know, why not drink port? So fancy.
Yeah, love it. I love it, port.
How about you? What are your wins and whinges?
Yeah. I'm going to say I've sort of got a win and a whinge this week, but same thing. So my whinge is that I've not got any writing done, and I've not really got any other things on my list that I had. I got a good chunk of them done, but I've got more things I could have done. But really my win is that I chose not to do them because I had just reached a stage where I just couldn't continue at that pace, and I wanted to be able to kind of make a judgment and say I'm going to have more of a break this week and push back things that aren't essential. And part of it, like I noticed on Wednesday, I go to a writing group on Wednesday. It's just one where you sit and do your own writing. And I didn't have time to do writing then. And I kind of didn't need to. I wanted to get some admin stuff out of the way. So I was doing loads of admin things and prepping for some writing, like my next writing project. And everyone else left about 9, and I had to stay and finish about 9:30. But I finished at 9:30. I was like, oh gosh, I finished so early this evening. I finished my to-do list. It's not even midnight. It's not even nearly midnight. What else should I fit in? I was like, you know what? This is not good. It's been longer than I can remember before I didn't pack in work until midnight. And I start work at 8 in the morning, like on my day job. So I would be working till midnight, go to sleep, which I'm very fortunate. I can go straight to sleep. So I'd go to sleep at midnight, wake up at 7, go to work. And then just rinse and repeat and just keep doing that. And I was like, you know what? I need to get out of the habit of feeling like that's normal. It's so unhealthy. And it's fine to do in a short term. And I'd consciously done it in a short term burst way, but it was feeling like I wasn't questioning it. So I took this week to really be more evaluative of my to-do list. Someone in our Discord made a great suggestion for kind of being better with your to-do list, and that was estimating the time for every item on it. And I did that this week, and I kept finding myself estimating like 5 more hours than I had in my day for my things. Like, okay, move those things on then. So that was really useful. Realizing on Wednesday that I was kind of having very unhealthy thought process was useful. And then this weekend I had a friend coming today, so I was forced to not work, but you know, it's someone who doesn't live very near here, so they were driving up for Friday evening, gonna leave about Sunday afternoon. So I was like, oh, I could fit in some more work around that and do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just so exhausted that I was like, there's nothing I need to do this weekend that can't wait till next week, that wouldn't be benefited by me being more rested next week. So yeah. I'm going to tell you about like the world's best weekend. I just had it, and it was so good. And I want to remember how good it felt to relax and like consciously do these things. So my whole house had got unbelievably messy due to like months and months of just focusing heads down editing. And it's fine because only I live here, and like I have three of the same room stacked on top of each other, and
Mhm.
they're all sort of like slightly big for one person, so you can just sort of make a mess at the edge of the room and not really be bothered by it. And I, I'm not like hoarder levels, like stacks of things falling on top of me, but just like the sort of mess where you just notice it all the time out of the corner of your eye and just feeling a bit like, oh. So I spent all the Friday just cleaning, and it was so satisfying and felt so
Yeah.
like kind to myself to make my space clean again and like tidy and tidy things that like don't really need tidying. So like there's parts of my attic that are just really used for storage, and they just kind of become dumping grounds. Like, oh, just cleaning off those bits. So I did that on Friday. Then my friend came over and we watched the first episode of the new Agatha Christie on BBC, which was so good. And it's set on Burr Island, which we are going to go to together. It's the thing that my brother got me a ticket to for my
Oh
40th. The
yes.
hotel. So it's set on Burr Island, which is
Crazy.
so beautiful. So it's
Yeah.
towards zero if anyone's looking out for it. It's on the BBC. I'm sure it'll be available around the world elsewhere, but it was lovely. So we watched the first episode of that while just like eating nice food on the sofa and relaxing. And then the next day, I booked into the sauna, which is 2 minutes from my house. It's a little like outdoor sauna. And it was
Oh my
so
god.
sunny and beautiful that we had the sauna. And then we sat outside around like a little open fire for an hour and just sat in deck chairs. And they brought us
Stop.
herbal tea and we just chatted. And then we went home and worked on a little book nook kit that I'd also got for my 40th from my stepmom. And we just like made a little Japanese scene for a book nook and like ate delicious snacks. And then we watched the rest of the Agatha Christie while we had pancakes because it was pancake day here last week, but we didn't get a chance to do it this week. So we had some pancakes. We drank mimosas. And then this morning we went to the garden centre, which is like there's a phenomenal garden centre near here. And
Saying
we had
all the right
brunch at the
words.
garden centre. I know, we had brunch at the garden centre. We got loads of plants. And then she left and I spent the afternoon gardening, which is so satisfying because I left my garden all last year because the weather was so miserable. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think I watered my garden once and it has survived. So that's how miserable the weather was last year. And I
Yeah.
just couldn't face gardening last year. So this year I got all my weeding done. I put in a new little tree. Then I did my indoor plants again, which was like I kind of let some of them, go they needed some care. I did that and then I was like, I could get those bits of work done before the podcast. I just took a bath. I took a bath and I'm rewatching Lost because I really want to watch some things with like
Oh,
that tease out long mysteries.
I have been
Um
talking about rewatching Lost recently.
It's so worth it.
It's
Because
so worth it.
yeah, and then I've come to the podcast. It's like that. I think it maybe doesn't sound like the most exceptional weekend, but a lot of it
It
was like
sounds like
small,
my
comforting
perfect.
things.
That's like my perfect
Yeah,
weekend.
and it just felt like such a treat to give myself like all the small things that I really like to do that are just like real treasures to myself. And I did a little bit of work on the Friday before my friend came because I wanted to set up some Facebook ads. And I like set up my paperback so I can order my paperbacks for my new book. So like
Mhm.
little things, but nothing that was exhausting. And I had some good sleeps, but I'm still tired. It's like, you know what? I'm so glad I took a rest this weekend because I'm going to have a long sleep after this and hopefully next week get into really good routines and kind of stop working to exhaust myself and hopefully
Yeah.
recover. Disappointing that I haven't recovered instantly, that I've not just like
Yeah.
snapped back into feeling like wide awake and full of energy. But having the energy to garden today felt like such a big change. It
Mhm.
was exhausting but nice.
Yeah. No, that sounds like the absolute perfect weekend for me. I
Mm.
can't even. When you said that you went to a sauna, I instantly felt how relaxed that would make me feel, and I just don't know why I don't do things like that for myself because
Yeah.
I am surrounded by places like that, and
Yeah.
it's so
And it's
so
literally 2 minutes
lazy.
from my house.
Oh
I've been
god.
to it before when it was in a different location and I went on a cold day and it's actually not as nearly as fun on a cold day. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad it was like a really beautiful weekend where it was warm enough to sit
Oh,
outside
it's
this
yeah.
weekend.
Oh, here in the UK,
Hmm.
particularly, I don't know if it was like the whole of the UK, but in the up north, um, yeah, we've had such a good weekend, like
Hmm.
real spring weather. So
Actual
like not
sunshine.
yeah, like I haven't worn my winter coat for the last few
Hmm.
days. I went out
Hmm.
without my scarf today for the first time ever,
Whoa.
which for me is like I love a scarf. I like to
Yeah,
be
me
cozy,
too.
and I didn't go. Yeah, I left my scarf at home, and it has made such a difference. I love
Mm.
seeing. I'm such an Instagram #spring #blossoms girl. I
Mhm.
love it, and I've been just dying to see blossom for so long, and saw it
Mm.
this weekend and felt like I was a different person. I have blossomed anew alongside it. I'm buzzing.
Yeah, it does make such a difference. I was like, I was out working my garden. One of my neighbors was working her garden. I
Mhm.
was putting out new herbs, like seeds, and I was like, oh, here, have some seeds. There's tons in the packet. Like, have some of those. She was emptying her planter of all the soil. She was like, oh, do you want some soil? Yes. I was like, oh, what a nice like exchange. And then I have a slightly bizarre garden. It's like the only garden you can kind of see from the road for a long way, and it's sort of in the middle of the street, basically. And whenever I work in it, people stop and tell me how lovely it is and how much they enjoy walking past it. And it is not, it's fine. It's not like a
Yeah.
fantastic garden. It's a few containers, but it's all pink and purple, and all the plants in it are pink and purple, and it's just like really bright and sunshiny, and it's got a really nice bench in it. And it's not the garden itself, it's like the community feeling of working in the garden, sharing things, and
Mhm.
yeah, feeling part of the world. That's what I've
Yeah.
really not had recently, and this weekend has really made me feel like part of the world again. And I
Yeah.
really need to be more mindful about doing that.
Yeah. No, same. Yeah, I can't wait to get back to my allotment and actually get my hands into the
Mm.
dirt and
Mm.
try and grow loads of herbs and stuff and become my normal witchy self.
Yeah.
We should we should really get into the topic. We've been
Mm.
chatting for a good while just about how great our lives are. Um,
Mm.
so the topic of the week this week is social media and branding. This is
Mm.
another topic that we have talked about before, but why are we discussing it again?
Good question that I wrote myself, and to feel that pressure mounting. So I think we talk loads about kind of different social media things, what we want to try, how we feel about it. I've said a million times that, oh, I need to do more social media. And kind of what I wanted to talk about today is kind of a reckoning of like I've tried plenty of things, and I think I said last week, like it's often the first thing I dropped off my list. And I kind of want to have a discussion of thinking about how are we consciously using it, and like
Mhm.
how can you use it in a way that works for you? Because I don't want to run a Facebook group, like a group where people post funny memes about reading, or you have to post every day and get people chatting. Like, to me that feels like work, like it feels incredibly unpleasant.
Mhm.
And there are groups that I enjoy being part of, so I'm not saying this group is a bad thing objectively. It doesn't feel pleasurable to me, the idea of running that, and it feels actively unpleasant. So it's not like I think, oh, it's part of the job, I'll do that. I feel like anything in that direction is something I want to do. Even things like posting daily on my page, it feels inauthentic to me. And we've said previously about, I just find it really hard to do things that don't feel authentic. And I
Yeah.
could do them, right? There's things that I do that don't feel authentic, but I understand the benefit to them, and I think that's part of the business. Whereas for me, social media, it's more even like the consistency of it is what feels inauthentic. Like if I'm posting every day, that's not natural, so that's not real. And if I'm just posting when I feel like it, that's not rewarded. So then kind of how do
Mhm.
I find a useful way? And I've tried various things. I did really enjoy posting on TikTok. We had a challenge from Anna Beswick earlier this year, and I
Mhm.
tried that, but I don't think it necessarily moved the needle at all. And I was consistent, and I had plenty of posts. And unlike you, I am very impatient with that sort of thing. But I did it, I've done it fairly consistently enough to see like, okay, I see how it works, and I see what's interesting about it and what's not. And I'm not sure for the time it's necessarily something that is going to stay at the top of my list. And so
Yeah.
whenever there's a time pressure, it drops, and then it's like, then what's the point of it? Um, and and I've tried, there's like various different thoughts on different ways you can do social media. So for example, TikTok, like Kate Hall is quite open about here's how you need to be kind of setting up your TikTok in a way to get people viewing it and to make it effective. And I've set something like that up, and it was really useful to look at kind of her process. And she's got a TikTok account. I think she's got several. I think this one's called Kate Hall Biz, so I'll put a link into that if you want to kind of look into how she does it. She's really open about it, and she does have a TikTok course. I haven't done it, but I know someone on Discord has, and has kind of found that really interesting. So I think I feel like the benefit is like I definitely over the past few months really looked into it and like really understood what it is, and sort of various social media things, like really taking the time to think about it and not just kind of push it away. But I feel like I don't yet have a way in which I think it's going to work for me, and that I want to make it part of my business. But I do feel like there should be something I can do with it, and I don't want to just like
Mhm.
you know throw my toys at the pram, but like it's not for me. And I know that you are almost the exact opposite of like you really enjoy it almost
Mhm.
like for itself.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to have a chat about like how do you make it work for you, and how do you think I can make it work for me?
Okay. Yeah. Like no pressure at all
Big topic,
to
yeah.
completely convince you.
Mhm.
Quick sell social media.
Mhm.
Um, I used to like, and I've said this before in previous episodes and stuff, like I used to really struggle with posting and not being consistent and feeling like what was the point, because like you say, the needle doesn't really move that much, so you're not getting anything from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did the challenge on TikTok, and within doing that, I really like it when I get set a challenge, because I love competing with myself. And when I set myself a task, I will do it to the bitter end, because
Yeah, because you're
I'm
doing it for
just
yourself. Like that's how I felt when I was
yeah
doing it. I was like, I've set myself this challenge. I am living up to the commitment I've made to myself. And as soon as that
yes.
ended, I felt it much easier to drop it, because it's like, well, there's no
I
commitment now.
I did wonder whether I would drop it, because posting, like, the challenge kind of like built up. It was just like, to start with, it was post once on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
and then you increase your posts to 3 a day. And I did think that I would drop back down to maybe like 1 every other day, but I actually have consistently stayed 2 to 3 posts a day on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
and then I cross post them to Instagram if I think like people on Instagram might like it. Sometimes I kind of make a decision that it's not an Instagram post. I don't know why, just how I feel. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just a vibe thing. But I think the reason that I have stuck with it is because I maybe tricked myself into thinking I liked it, much like when I tricked myself into thinking that I like cleaning the kitchen. I think that I've tricked myself into liking posting on TikTok. And I'm not one of those people that scrolls a lot on TikTok. I scroll a lot on Instagram. But on TikTok, I post and do the whole post and ghost thing. I'll have a look and see what my friends have posted, my mutuals, and interact with their stuff. But I'm not scrolling through TikTok to see other people's stuff. So I'm not wasting time there. I'm going on and I'm creating something for my own enjoyment. Like, I feel like I'm just creating things for myself, because even though I'm out of the 200 views jail and back into the 800 view jail, I've not yet reached 1,000 views on anything, which feels frustrating. And that is one thing that I would say is frustrating about TikTok, is that you feel like you're doing well, but not well enough. They think that makes me go
Yeah, there's a
back.
word for it, right? It's like intermittent rewards. Like that's a psychological
Yeah.
thing to make you keep coming
Yes,
back.
and they think that's why I'm going back, and maybe I am in some ways, but in the other ways, I just really like posting stuff on there. I like making things, and I suppose because I actually don't think the needle's going to move all that much, or I'm not expecting it to. Like, if something were to blow up and I get a viral post, it won't be anything that I've done. It's just going to be random. So I don't really have much of a tie to like the outcome of stuff. I'm just like trying different things to see like what looks good. And I rewatch my own videos more than anybody else does. I
What do you
love
think
my
you're
own
getting out of that?
posts.
Like when you say to see what looks good, is it because
Mm-hmm.
I definitely found it helpful when doing that TikTok challenge to have to articulate the hooks for my book and figure out what sells about the
That's
book and then to use that in
yes.
advertising.
Yeah, that exactly is. It's just like every time I go and do a post, this is probably like other people do this differently. You can look at your stats and see what posts have done well, and you can like build on those and repost them. And I do repost the same images and some of the same text, but I write a different caption every time just off the top of my head, because I just want to see maybe today I'll understand what I'm doing more, and it's more of an exploratory like within myself situation. So
Yeah.
I'm just telling myself the story over and over again as a way for me to understand it, which sounds really like, obviously I should understand my own story, and I do, but it's just like I'm just telling myself how much I like my own stuff, and I'm
But
just
also
building up
I
my
think
own
TikTok
ego.
really helps you understand it in like the shortest, hookiest way possible.
Yes.
In
Yes.
the way that like I know the full length novel version of my story,
Mm-hmm.
and I maybe now know the blurb version of my story, but like do I know
Mm-hmm.
the like 5 words that is going to make someone say that is for me? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is definitely something that romance authors have
Yes.
really got to a T. But
Yeah.
it's interesting, actually. We were talking about kind of the specificity of romance in the Cozy Clubhouse recently, because we're looking at other genres, and we'll talk a bit more about this next week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how sort of romance authors have, to an extent, kind of made themselves a rod for their own back by making things so specific, and like you have to market it with like this exact set of keywords, and someone might like 3 of the 4 keywords, but if they don't like the 4th one, they're not reading your book, which we don't have that limitation in other genres so much, and maybe we don't want to find it because then you really are, again, like making a rod for your own back. And I think that's interesting because I think actually in romance, like part of it is based on your attraction, and I think that is quite specific. Like I, in my own romantic life, might like the idea of billionaires and fated mates, right? I think there's like those kind of have a, close ties to things that I might find genuinely attractive in my real life. And if there's things like age gap, it might be like, oh no, ick. Like you can't read something that gives you the ick, right? It's like you don't really have that in other genres. You might think, oh, I always find it a bit cliche, maybe in a cozy mystery where the sleuth, their partner is the police officer, and it's like you can find it cliche and you can find it a bit annoying, but it doesn't give you the ick. Like, and that's, I think, the interesting thing. I think why romance authors are forced to be so specific in their hooks, and because they know exactly what the readers want. And I think to an extent in other genres we don't necessarily have readers that have such exact wants, maybe, and I think TikTok has helped me feel like I'm getting as close as I can to that, to articulate that. So I did really find it useful. But I think to me then it felt like, okay, and I that's useful for me to understand. Is like I found TikTok, I found it something I could stick with when I felt like it was giving me something useful. And then post that, I've also been, in the 700-800 views jail, and then like, and that's a great number of views to be getting, right? Like if you got those free on other platforms, you'd be like, fantastic, thank you Facebook for giving me a bunch of free views. But I don't necessarily think they convert to sales at those low numbers. So then what's to kind of keep me coming back? I think that's what I found hard when I'm short of time. Like it's something that I do find, I like the visuals and I like the kind of think of the tech. So if I had all the time in the world, I probably would do more social media. But I think for me, I would need to have something that is keeping me coming back. And how do you feel like you kind of maintain that feeling?
I just really like that I feel like I'm doing something fun and creative, and I think that's what keeps me going back. But I'm just really good at sticking to habits. I have a superhuman ability to consistently stick to habits, and that does help me. And obviously it doesn't help other people who aren't that great at sticking to habits. But every day, it's just part of my daily routine. I'm at work, I'm at my desk, I've made a to-do list, and I stick my social media on my work to-do list. And I generally will try and do it at lunchtime. But I do, if I'm like bored at my desk, I do kind of write a few ideas down of what social media posts I want to post that day. I don't plan them really far in advance. Sometimes
Are you
it's just
making
that
new
day.
videos every day? Because your videos are very involved. They're not just like, here's a graphic, here's some text on it. They're like tiny, movie productions. Are you making this every day?
Yeah, I'm just in Canva. Thank you to paid Canva for sponsoring my life.
Yeah, for our unofficial sponsor.
I will
our sponsor that they don't want.
I have like a few pre-saves, like the little templates that I've set up for like video formats, and different videos saved, and I have things in folders. So if I'm looking for videos, but I'll tell you what, my most used videos are just me writing, because they do really well. Or like little witchy things that I do, like the candle ones, are always fun because I've just got those saved on my phone, and I just go into my videos folder and I just reselect them. I would say like I'm not as good as repeating as I could be, because I think that every day I am coming up with new copy to put on my posts, and other people don't do that. Other people are just reusing copy, and I don't do that because I just like the involvement of it. But it doesn't actually take me that long to set up a few draft posts and then post them throughout the day.
Would you keep making the videos if you knew that like nobody would ever buy books from that?
I'm
Like,
assuming
do you
that
think there's enough benefit to it?
Yeah, like no one's buying my books from my TikTok posts. No, like nobody. It's very rare. My sales have been so low recently that it's just like the most random encounters that I have with people that make them buy my books. So I'm not getting anything out of it other than my own enjoyment. And it's because that's just like a mindset thing. I have detached myself from like the importance of a post leading to a sale.
Mm.
Maybe that's like, people would say that's a mistake. I should be trying to hook readers and tweaking my copy to make sure that every post leads to a sale. But I'm
Well, you
not.
could also be thinking, like, what's another way you could be making sales, right? If you think, like, oh,
Yeah,
social media is never going to lead to this, how else can I
yeah.
spend my time? So how do you, and this is going to sound critical, but I'm genuinely interested, like, how do you justify the time to yourself? Like, how do you think this is worth my time when we know we're busy?
I'm just. Or I'm on social media anyway. I'm scrolling anyway.
Mm,
I'm on my phone
mm,
far too much. But I do try not to use my phone like after 6 p.m. when I'm at home.
mm,
So during the day, I feel like my phone is part of my job, like my writing job. So it's just like a part of my job. I don't
mm,
see it as a waste of time. I see it as so like I feel like there's benefit even if I don't know right now if that's going to pay off.
mm,
I just am like putting coins in a jar and hoping that one
mm,
day that jar's going to buy me a house. that's it. It's just, maybe it's just because I'm kind of optimistic and hopeful
mm.
and live on a dream, like on a little cloud, like thinking my dreams are going to come true. But
If
you
you,
have to. You have to.
yeah, I think that is really interesting because I think if you came across something where it was maybe slightly more likely to lead to kind of future success. So say it
Hmm.
was, oh, you know what, actually, I really realized that if I um wrote shorts, right? Like if that's what I need to do, like I suddenly heard lots of other people are writing shorts, and I would just take me maybe 10 minutes a day to write some shorts and start putting them in, and that would slowly build up my sales. Do you think you would happily switch over the time that you're spending to do it? Or is there something about the creative aspect of creating these social posts that feels
It's
different?
just, it is just the creative aspect. I can't see why I'd stop when I love it.
Mm,
To me, it's almost like, if you're somebody who really likes to do art, or somebody who likes to like draw in their free time. That's kind of how
mm,
I'm viewing it, because I feel like my creative needs are being met by picking pictures and deciding like what dramatic things can I try and put with these pictures to have fun.
mm,
Um, so even if I didn't think that these posts would ever lead to any sales, I just really am enjoying doing it.
mm,
That's to me, it's like just a creative outlet. I'm just doing something and enjoying it and hoping for something good to happen, but I
mm.
never expect it to. I don't know.
It's interesting because I have definitely had times of like using, I think especially TikTok because it's so like kind of fun and creative. Like there are sort of posts you can make that are very like the ones that I think if you look at Kate Hall, she'll talk about like there are posts where you're purely making them as a way to make sales or hoping to make sales. But I think so much of TikTok is just like weird and creative and fun that it gives you a good chance to be like, oh, if I just want to make weird, creative, fun stuff, that's also going to, be sent out and deliver.
Mhm.
But for me, I think if I am short of time, that just gets dropped because I know that I'm not formed habits like that, and
Yeah.
I'm outcome focused. I'm thinking like, oh, if I only have 5 hours today and I've got 5 hours worth of things to do, am I going to maintain the extra half hour it would take me to do the TikToks? No, because I
Hmm.
would have to drop either half an hour of something else on my list or half an hour of sleep, and like
Hmm.
those aren't going to make the top of the list. But I do think there is definitely something in what you're saying about like it's building up something for the long term, and I sort of think it's not necessarily like putting money in a like jar. It feels almost like putting money in like a 10p machine or a 2p machine.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
love
don't know
those.
that they
Oh
have
my
those.
god.
I love them, and I don't think they necessarily have them elsewhere. I hope they do
Yeah.
because they're really fun. But like you
Yeah.
put coins in a slot and they sort of drop down to the bottom, and then they join a big moving bar of other coins, and they can
Hmm.
push all the coins off the edge, and then all the coins get pushed off the edge into like into your pots basically.
Yeah.
So sort of like a slot machine, but like with a
It's
much more
gambling.
visual randomness. So
Yeah.
to me, that's how social media feels. And like I
Yeah.
love a 2p machine, a 10p machine. They're
Hmm.
fun, but I never expect to win. And I wouldn't put in more than a few coins. I'm just doing it for the fun alone. And if
Yeah.
I'm short of money, I would never put money in a 10p machine. And this is
Hmm.
how social media feels to me.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, but I do think there's a big thing about like so you are sort of like putting things into a bank, because say you've got this new series. I think your current situation is a great example. Like, you've got this series, it's the first series you're completing, and hopefully you'll be doing some advertising soon, more people are finding you. Those people, you want them to have more places to find out more about you. You want them to like be in your ecosystem, and one place they'll do that is by joining a newsletter. But another place is just like, they think, oh well, I'll go and follow Sam on social media, and then as soon as they do that or they interact with your videos, they get served more and more and more, because you have so much in your back catalogue. They will keep getting served things by you. Whereas if you only joined social media when you had got big, and you were seeing some success, they wouldn't be having all this kind of extra content served to them. So it's almost like you're building up future ads for yourself,
Yeah.
and like future draws into your web.
Yeah. And I would say I am also kind of, like you say, like putting things on the back burner for things like boosting posts. Like if I think that I've done a particularly good post on Instagram, and I look at it and think, oh, I could boost this for a couple of quid a day and see where it gets me. I would happily do that, because I like boosting posts on Instagram. So I am setting myself up for the opportunity to use what I've done for something else. If, so it's helpful to have it there. And I really just like looking at my own stuff. I'm so like, it's like whenever I do a lip syncy video or something, I will rewatch it. It's like I re-listen to our podcasts because I like listening to myself talk.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you earlier, I was
so
walking down to meet my dad for
self-involved.
lunch the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just listening to you." I was like, "I'm also listening to me."
Yeah,
It is useful to re-listen to the podcast.
I'm my own biggest fan, and I think that's okay. Somebody has to.
Okay, I think then let's think about a situation where, say, I wanted to hire you as my social media manager, and you have to justify the cost, right? So I will pay you money for your time, but you want to be able to come out and say you want me to keep hiring you, so you want me to see some sort of benefit to it. How would you go about even thinking about that? Like, how would you go about deciding what to do and where the benefit is going to be?
I think it would depend on what your kind of like comp authors are doing. So I do look at what my comp authors are doing, and I save Instagram posts into a folder as what I've called my authoring folder, and I sometimes will like go through and recreate their like standard posts that they do, because I know that other people have enjoyed those. They like, if some of them get a lot of views, I'll think, oh, that's probably like a decent kind of post that other people might like. So I think that I would say, like, look at what your comps are doing, because like you want people to look at your things and be able to fit it into whatever like their mental categorizing is. So I would say to do that, and then decide what route you'd like to go down. Like, I have only recently really found my vibe on social media, and it has taken me the last year to get to this point where I feel like I don't really think about what I have to post, because I know the tone of the images that I want to use, and I only save images into my folders that I think fit that tone, and I only use kind of copy and particular words, and also like really hit my X meets Y hard on a lot of my posts. So I think just really drilling down to like what you want your, I don't want to say like aesthetic, but like what is your
branding,
aesthetic?
which I think is why we
Yeah.
type these two things together, is like, what's
Yeah.
your like social media branding? And I do think one thing that I was definitely thinking about when preparing for this episode was, I don't think I've nailed my branding at all. Like, I think we talked about this ages ago, and it's so useful to revisit it. Of like, we had the kind of tagline of like, oh, quintessentially British mysteries. That isn't though like me. That isn't my branding as an author. That's very loose, and like that's like you kind of know vaguely what you're getting from the books. Also, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
That's a very subjective term. And I think when I post, especially and TikTok, I think is a useful space to have explored, because cozy authors are not on TikTok realistically. A lot of people are on, but they're not seeing particularly big numbers. Sometimes paranormal, because it tends to have a slightly younger audience, but really cozy authors are not massively on TikTok because the cozy audience isn't on there. So it's kind of freed me up to do different things and to not worry too much about my branding, and to be a little bit like kind of chaotic and all over the map with it in a way that I found fun. But it definitely made me think, like, I don't have a branding. And looking at your posts, they
Mhm.
are so, like, I could see one and not know it was you and know it was you, right?
Yes.
That's how strong the branding is. And I think that's
Mhm.
definitely a benefit to being more present on social media. It forces you to really think about how are you presenting your brand as like a feeling, as graphics, as text, as all those things together. And I
Yeah.
haven't nailed that down. And I think I really vacillate between kind of like cute and quaint and like little country village, and then kind of like quirky and weird and like full of cats and baking. And it's like I
Mhm.
don't feel confident enough in like my author persona to present something and to present a consistent anything. And so
Yeah.
then it leaves me just making like a very bland, generic nothing, which I find really satisfying. And that's what feels inauthentic, and that's why I don't want to do it. And that's
Yeah.
why I wouldn't want to be posting every day on like on a Facebook group, because it would be like, here's this, in my mind, it's like, here's this funny meme about like, oh, aren't we all like this? And it's like, we're not, and I don't know what you're like, you don't know what I'm like, and that
Yeah.
really
It's
points out to me like an issue in my own branding.
yeah. It's a level of like your persona,
Mm,
because I have kind of abandoned my Facebook recently, because I mean some of my Instagram posts go there automatically, but every
mm,
time I go on Facebook there's no interaction. And maybe it's because I don't post on there and try and encourage anybody
mm,
to kind of get involved. But I'm just over Facebook a little bit because it's just a lot of friends and family, so it's not
mm.
beneficial to me
And it's
whatsoever. And
also less
also,
the space for your genre.
yes, less space for my genre, and I also feel too on view for people in my life. So
Mm,
like the real, like people that I know in real life who aren't particularly readers but just like support for the sake of supporting. I struggle very much with who I am inside versus who people expect me to be outside. I don't know if we talked about this last
no, but
week.
can you talk a bit more about that? Because I feel like
Okay,
I
so
don't quite know what you mean by that one.
yes, so I struggle with what like my family's and some friends'
Oh,
expectation
yeah.
of me
Hmm.
is, but it's not who I feel like I am when I'm
Hmm.
on my own or on the internet. So if I'm posting on Facebook, I know that my family are going to see it, and
Mm,
that immediately makes me just not want to be like my authentic self.
hmm.
But on Instagram and TikTok, I'm not really like my authentic self there either, but I am like a version of my online self, which I have
Mm,
honed over many years because I'm
hmm.
an internet kid. So I've grown up on the internet and had many personas on the internet, and now I've found one that I feel is a nice enough mix of real me and
Hmm.
this like higher version of myself that's like my future author who is winning at life and living on a farm with
Mm,
surrounded by like loads of rescue animals. Um, so I have just found a place that I like to be and a person or a persona that I like to represent me.
hmm.
And that might sound like I think I used to worry that made me inauthentic, but I actually just think it's fun to act like that part of me because everyone's got different versions of their
Yeah.
personality. Me, more than anyone, I'm like, this is where I go woo woo. My birth chart is just like 90% Gemini.
I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm just gonna
So
nod
I
like I
am
know.
I am basically like the biggest Gemini that there is, which means that I am very
How can you be
multifaceted.
how can you be less Gemini than a Sun?
Yeah, it's it's all very scientific, I'm sure. But I really resonate with the Gemini identity, which
Hmm.
is somebody who has a lot of different personas, and I used to really struggle with not this is like deep diving into my psyche, but I used to struggle with not knowing who I was supposed to be depending on who I was around.
Hmm.
And often, even now, I still find this, like if I see somebody that I've not seen for a long time, I get a little bit scared, like I don't know what our level of friendship was or what version of me they knew, so I don't know
Hmm.
how to act. So I have like this mental condition where I've got like too many personalities, but
Hmm.
not officially diagnosed. But it's just that I just have a lot of various shades of Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And I have leaned into the one that feels the most comfortable to present to an online audience.
And the one that I think maybe if you were to meet your readers in person, that's the one you would authentically be. So it's like
Yes, yeah.
that part of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is what's maybe holding me back, is that like I think to an extent, like knowing that cozy mystery readers are generally an older group, so they're older than me. The person I am, I'm imagining like who I am around, you know, a relative, an older relative that you go and visit.
Mhm.
And that is a version of me that is like my like sit politely on the sofa, answer their questions, and like be very nice. And like
Mhm.
that's definitely a part of me. Like that is a significant part of me. And you know, I might even be funny, right? My family's northern, so we, you know, even the older relatives, you know, like a bit of like a sarcastic joking. So that's the part of me I would be. But it doesn't feel like a part of me that is very open, very wide. It's like a very
Mm.
narrow part of me. And that's the part of me that currently I really do present online. It's like that very, like the politest version of me. And on TikTok, I definitely felt more able because I think the audience is not there. I'm kind of just like, here's a random group of people,
Mhm.
able to just be a little bit more all over the place, but
Yeah.
not really building any persona. And I feel like when I think about other cozy mystery authors who I do feel really do very well, you know, in social media, they seem incredibly authentic. And they seem like they're people who are they're generally a bit older,
Mhm.
um, already themselves. So maybe they're feeling less of that generation, like generational politeness.
Mhm.
And they're people who that I imagine if you met them as a reader, they are genuinely like that. Like they are quite like, you know, southern or midwestern, you know, they're someone who has like a very friendly persona. And I'm sure if you meet them, you know, I've met some of them as a writer, there's a different aspect of personality that the readers don't necessarily see, but it is authentically who they are with that type of person. And the
Mhm.
person I authentically am with that type of person is quite buttoned up.
Yeah.
And so then it feels like, how can I find a way to be engaging and open with an audience who I'm naturally quite closed down with? And that just then
Mhm.
feels like, oh gosh, that feels really hard to figure out. So
Yeah.
I will not do it. Or I will
Well,
easily kind of, it's a cognitive dissonance, right? So then it just makes me kind of, if
yes.
any, it's an extra bit of work I have to do
Yeah.
that makes me think if
You
there's any barrier, I'll drop it.
Yeah, I know, I understand that 100% because that's exactly how I felt even like towards the end of last year, where I
Hmm.
felt like every time I went online and posted things, I was being like overly confident or just overly forceful in my attempts to like convince people to that maybe they want to
Hmm.
read the book. And maybe it's just because I've been interacting with more people who are fans of like my comp titles and things. I've just seen a place where I can slot in.
Hmm.
And that place that I've slotted in feels like it was like Sam shaped. But
Hmm.
but I had looked for it and I've been looking for it for a while and it was just thankfully like the timing was just right and I just found that space. But I'm also my genre obviously young adult. It is teenagers, but it does have a very
Hmm.
broad readership. And
Hmm.
I would say like people up to my age and older are still reading young adult and
Hmm.
loving it. And so I do have far more scope to be this version of myself because I can be like down with the kids, what up fellow kids. And
You're wearing a hoodie. I mean, how
I'm
much cooler
I'm
could you
wearing
be?
I'm wearing a hoodie and I've got baggy jeans on, just back to my 90s self. But I do also like I do fit into the older crowd of older people who read young adult books.
Hmm.
So I'm like I am within my genre. With you, I actually think that you're missing a trick because you are writing younger sleuths,
Hmm.
like of your own age.
Hmm.
So
Which, in fact, I think
maybe
all the other social media people that I think of as being very successful online are also doing.
yes, but you are authentically that age.
I'm so
And
young.
you're so young.
I'm
And you could
40,
be
just so
out
I know
solving
listening. But I feel I'm also wearing a hoodie,
40
so I'm young at heart.
years young. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be there's nothing stopping you from posting as, like as your characters. If that helps you get into that mindset, I mean, you are those characters, you wrote them, so they do exist within you. So if all you need to do to try and find like some sort of fun authenticness about posting, you could just think like, what's a great post from the perspective of the main character, like spotting possible crimes or murders in places that they don't exist. So you do that anyway.
I was in a sauna, and one of my first conversations with a stranger I sat next to was about murdering people in a sauna.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about books, and I was talking about How to Kill Your Family, the Bella Mackie book, which I really like, which does have a scene in which someone kills someone in a sauna, and it made me feel a bit paranoid about being in a sauna.
Instantly, that's a social media post, is both a thing about your life, something that's murdery, and also a book rec. Like, so you actually do have these things. It's just training your brain to kind of line up with like what you're doing and how you could turn that into something fun. Because that is a good part.
I think the really hard thing about social media is like, because when you get started, you get so little engagement. You don't have a sense of what is a good post and what's a bad post. And I think to an extent you have to post often in order to get that feedback from yourself. To get that feedback of like, oh, this, looking back, I'm not as drawn to those ones. And I also think it's important to look back at your old posts, and I think it's big benefits. So yeah, I think if I can just find things that feel authentic to me, because I think even posting about a sauna, I think that's it. I think I just don't engage enough of myself in there, because I feel a bit like, again, I'm just feeling very shut down.
Yeah.
Like I would have posted about the sauna, but as part of like, oh, I had a really lovely weekend, like you would like writing to an older relative, like had a lovely weekend, went to a sauna, went to the garden centre, it was so relaxing.
Yes.
But
No,
actually, you're right, like that's that's a really interesting post about.
I think that when you are an author who has a readership that's very involved in you already, I used to do, because I used to do the same thing, and when I scroll back through my Instagram, like my older stuff, I was definitely talking to my audience in the wrong way. And I was doing that, like the personal posts, like, this is what I've done this weekend, here's a photo dump. And that doesn't do anything if you haven't got the people there who want to talk to you about it and who are interested. So I think that it is more interesting and more fun, and it actually takes some pressure away if every single post is just about one thing, and that is to draw attention to your books. And that's it. And it doesn't have to be inauthentic, because you can post about what you're doing in your life and how it could be a murder, like how it could tie into your books. And that's your personality. It's humorous, and you have like, your books aren't dry, they're very witty, your characters are very witty, so that does tie in with you and who you are, and it's authentic, and it's just something fun. But I would say that the best thing that I did when I started posting at the start of this year is I tried to keep consistent with how it looks, like with the branding stuff. If I post a video of myself writing, I'll put a particularly dark filter on it, because I've started posting a lot more darker images. So you can change themes whenever you want, but I would say, just to start with, maybe pick a filter that you want to use that keeps everything looking a
very
particular
Taylor
way.
Swift. And you like the Taylor Swift filter.
Pick an era. Be in your you in your murder mystery era.
Yeah, and like that's the benefit of not having a big following so far, is that you can just try stuff for once and be like, that didn't feel right, let me try something else. I think that is so helpful, because one of the things I find really difficult is when you're looking at people who are already successful. So you look at like, oh, you've got authors that are doing well. They are often doing things like posting about their lives, and it's like, but they have a big readership who really cares about their life, who wants to know the next installment of like, oh, what happened with your kid's basketball game, right? And if I post about I don't have a kid, post about my kid's basketball game, people are like, what? Why would I want to scroll past? Absolutely don't care about that. But if someone knows, like, has followed you for years, they know that your kid really wanted to get into the basketball team, they would ask you the question of like, how did the basketball team do, and how did the game go? They're more connected in a different way, and I couldn't replicate that. And I have really struggled to figure out like what's between posting very bland, not personal things, and like sharing as if they're my friends. And I've really struggled. And I do think like my next goal should be trying to find my branding. And like figuring out like, oh, do I want to be because I'm not, who am I going to put off? Like the half dozen people that ever see my posts on
Yeah.
Facebook? Fine. Say they're put off me from seeing those posts this next 1 month. But maybe it builds up. Yeah, and I would rather find a personal voice and a personal brand
Hmm.
that puts off some people. That's fine as long as it's
Yeah.
authentic to my books, rather
Yes.
than just like keep. Sorry, I've lost my headphones because my cat's on me wanting some strokes. Rather that than kind of keep like fluttering on the edge of doing nothing.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say I'll give you 2 quick wins if you want to feel
Mm-hmm.
like you're doing stuff and it's engaging. Is if you
Mm-hmm.
want to write a life update, put it in your stories, because people who watch your stories are more, I think they're like more tuned in,
Mm-hmm.
more interested to see. So like I will always, if I go past somebody's story and they've written an update, I don't care who it is, I'm going to read that because I'm in the stories. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
completely different mindset. And I
I
will
think
like
Instagram stories,
things.
not fiction stories,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Instagram stories. So if you want to do like little writing updates or life updates, or like weekend updates, throw it in your stories. I always find that I get far more interaction that way. And if you want to get more interaction on a post, post a selfie because I can't tell
Yeah,
you.
because I'm so
Oh,
attractive. Yeah, I know.
it's because you're obviously like stunning and everyone wants to see it. But even though it annoys me, I know if I'm feeling like, oh, I just wish people would
Mm,
interact with my social media more.
yeah,
I go on Instagram and I post a selfie and I watch as the likes and the comments roll in because
yeah. And you think
people
this is
can't
the pain of
resist.
a beautiful face.
Particularly,
Yeah,
yeah, like I know it is. I really am cursed with this, but any kind of new hair, I'll always post it as a
yeah,
selfie and
yeah,
then just sit back and feel great that everyone's like, oh, I love your hair, so cute,
yeah.
so curly. I'm like, thanks guys, you haven't
Great
looked at a
myself. Yeah.
single post before or after this one, but never mind. So that's like a nice little vanity thing. If you want to feel good about yourself, post a selfie, and if you want to
Mhm.
give life updates, put them in your Instagram stories.
Mm, okay. Yeah, and then I think you're rather like you've had such good advice for this. I think it's so interesting to talk to someone who has a really different attitude to social media and who has a really different process of exploring with it. I think better than talking to somebody who's kind of similar to me. I like, sometimes you get friends that you like commiserate with and be like, oh, it's awful, isn't it? Yeah, it's awful. I
Mm-hmm.
always find it endlessly useful to talk to you about this because we come from such different perspectives.
Yeah,
And not necessarily that like either of us are social media experts. Like we're both just
no,
kind of having different questions, and that I think is incredibly useful.
yeah.
Um, do you have any things that you are still thinking about with your social media that you are wanting to still work on?
Um, I guess just knowing when to post about which projects. So I've currently got, obviously my book series is coming to an end. Um, so I'm trying to talk more about like this last book that's coming out, but it's the third book
Hmm.
in the series. So I'm really struggling to know the best way to talk about it, how often I should be mentioning like the full series or just this one book. So I do really struggle with that aspect of it, and also knowing when to talk about the next book that's coming out, because I did start
Hmm.
teasing that at the start of this year and I'm really excited. I know like a lot of people are excited about that book, but trying to figure out
Is it
when
on
to start
pre-order yet?
talking. It is on pre-order, yes. Everyone go
Oh,
pre-order it, please. It's called The Moon is a Door. um yeah, so like it's trying to just figure out the balance of, we've talked about this before like loads, of
mm,
how often you talk about your backlist, how often you talk about your current, and how often you talk
mm,
about your next book. That's where I'm still struggling, but I think I'm getting better at it, but I still know that I've got a lot of work to do with figuring
mm,
that kind of thing out. I'm fine with it.
hmm.
I'll figure it out.
I definitely find it, the authors that I interact with a lot, they often are just talking about one book at a time, and it
Mm-hmm.
feels impactful. Like I think as an author, I think, oh, that's going to feel really repetitive, but actually, it feels like the book is everywhere, even if it's just the author posting about it. Then like
Mm-hmm.
it keeps kind of it overrides your sort of instinct to ignore. You're like, oh, I'll look at it today. Even though it's
Yeah.
the fifth time I've seen it, and like, oh, okay, I've looked at it, and then maybe the next time you think, what is that book about? And that might even be like 5 times later. And I think there's such a transience about social media that we don't feel the same way as if somebody like knocks on your door every 5 minutes, like telling you about something. It doesn't feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And that to an extent, you're in control of your algorithm, so you are choosing to see it more. It's not really
Yeah.
the author is posting about it, because I often get people who, if I interact with them enough, I get served posts from, especially on TikTok, from months ago, and so
Oh
it's not
yeah.
the author's posting about all the time. It's like, oh, it's me liking them, so the algorithm saying, look at this more.
Hmm.
Um, and so it never feels like it's the author overwhelming you. It feels like, wow, I must really like this. I
Yeah.
should read it.
I think that's probably it, is that I still struggle with that mentality of like, excuse me, like, I don't mean to bother you, but can you look over here? Like, I still struggle with with that kind of little mouse voice, like being like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
just look at me here. So that is a mentality thing that I am trying to push through. I want to scream and shout and let it all out about my
Mm-hmm.
books. And maybe this week coming up, I will just consistently post about the same book 3 times a day and not try to like convince them to go back to book 1. It's just all about book 3, and then maybe the
I'm going to say the opposite, because I
oh,
think
really?
you want to get people in at book 1. Yeah. So like
Yes.
I've got a book 2 out next week,
Hmm.
which I am behind on promoting. Like I really didn't have the bandwidth to promote it, and I could have done more, but also I think I really want to pay attention to like the idea of hard and soft launches, and I think Helen Shura talks about it. I think Elena Johnson talks about it. I think a book 2, I could have gone for a bigger launch, but actually, because I'm doing 1, 2, and 3 rapid, I wanted to do like 1 as big, 2 can be smaller, and then that gives me energy to do 3 as big.
Hmm.
And even if I were posting a fair bit about book 2, there's no point reading it without reading book 1, even though they're
Yeah.
standalones. I want people to read 1, 2, and 3 because I
Hmm.
want to get that read through. So if I'm posting about book 2, I was thinking about this evening of like what I'm going to post about book 2. It's going to be every book 2 post will mention book 1. So it might be
Yeah.
like, have you read book 1 yet? Book 2 is out. I'm not, and I might do some posts that are just here's book 2, but maybe the second slide would be haven't started the series yet. Here's book 1,
Yeah.
because especially because readers who like series, they care that it's a series, and
Yeah.
saying like book 3 in this series doesn't feel, I think, the same as kind of focusing on
It
as
does.
the series completes, here's book 1.
Yeah, it does feel difficult, and as much as I love the cover that I revealed, I do feel like it's fallen on deaf ears. So maybe actually this week I will just talk about book 1 for a whole week
Mm-hmm.
and not mention book
Mm-hmm.
3, and see if that gets any
Mm-hmm.
kind of different interaction. So I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. Only book
Yeah,
1. See, I'm open to trying
yeah,
things and taking advice. This is the way.
yeah. And I think things like book 1 in a soon to be completed series, that creates a certain
Yeah.
urgency of like, oh, I want to get on book 1 before the series is kind of over. And because I think book 3 feels like you've missed the boat. Um,
Yeah.
Whereas you saw a lot of posts when I think it's Onyx Storm, was coming out, like a lot of posts about going back to the beginning, and people who are just getting
Hmm.
started in the series, like, oh, am I too late? I hope I'm not too late. I'm going to start at the beginning of the series so I can get to book 3 or 4 in time. Um, I feel like I am too late. I feel like I've missed that series and I need to get on it, but also I don't have the time for that that,
I don't
that
have
much
the
book.
time. I'm also don't know if I get into dragons, will I get out of
Yeah,
dragons? Like, I
I
feel
love
like
dragons.
I love dragons so much that I
Mhm.
don't let myself read about dragons. That's the thing. It's like if I start, then every book will, and I can't. I can't.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna. I just can't. It's too.
Mhm.
I love it too much. I can't let it become an actual obsession.
Okay, that is a good. Yeah, but I always think that's a series, like it's a good holiday series. Like it's one not to bring into your real
Yeah.
life. It's one
Yeah.
that you want to have a good chunk of time to read. So I definitely will read it at some
Mhm.
points, but I don't feel the urgency to read it because it's not my genre. I don't feel any sense of
Mhm.
like, oh, must read that. Whereas I think if it is your genre, you can see people really felt like a sense of I want to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I think either posting about book 1 or really focusing on like soon to be complete series.
Yeah. Yes, I think I will do that. Are you going to make any promises for this week's social media?
That is interesting. I think we've had really useful chat, and I think I want to have a bit of time to think about um and like to really make sure I'm setting myself up for success, because I know I'm such a like all or nothing person that I don't want to just be like,
Mhm.
oh, I'll just try a few posts. Like I want to make sure I'm having a thought about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a
Yeah.
plan for the next month, and I want to make that commitment to myself. I'm going to make a plan for the next month to do X. So I would definitely want by next week to have got a plan in place, if not started it
Mhm.
already. But I don't want to just jump in because I'm not a jump in person.
Yeah.
If I jump in right back out again, like well, as soon as it's not fun. So
and I just remembered something that I was going to talk about, but I haven't had time to. But I will just say this at the end, is that I signed up for a Buffer account at the start of the year and then didn't use it because I was just just posting.
A Buffer is that you can
as and when.
pre-schedule
So
posts.
you can pre-schedule posts, but you can also do what I like to do, which I used to use Trello for, but I've not logged into my Trello for a while. So I'm just switching apps here. Is just make loads of ideas for posts, but there is an AI function on Buffer which will help you come up with ideas for posts. I've looked into a few of those, but I've also just gone through yesterday in my admin day. I actually went through and made about 20 to 25 post ideas that I wanted to do, which means I have all of these things set up that I can just go into, add an image, add text, and then bash it out. So that's, I feel like I'm going to try and do that this week as well, just to see if it helps me stay off the scrolling part of Instagram specifically. I don't scroll on TikTok, but Instagram specifically. We'll see.
Okay. It's fantastic. It sounds like a great place to leave the discussion. I can imagine us coming back to this again soon, but I think it was really good to come back to it with maybe slightly more like cynical, jaded eyes, and be like, how have I tried and failed and come back? Yeah. Rather than like, oh, I'm going to be doing all the things and feeling really optimistic. Here's my brand. Being a bit more reflective based on previous processes. That was a really useful chat. So hopefully it was useful for other people to listen to as well.
Yes.
Next week, though, we are not doing a topic revisit. We're doing a completely new topic. We're talking about switching genres, which we're not switching genres, so don't get worried about that. I think we had a conversation about something sort of similar about like genre analysis in the Cozy Mystery Clubhouse, and it was really, really useful as a way just to kind of rethink your own genre and make sure you're looking at it, and it was a useful way to think about writing to market. So yeah, do you have any initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't have the time to switch genres even if I wanted to, but I definitely have genres that I would, if I had all the time in the world, there are definitely genres that I'd love to try and get into. And I think that it will be a fun excuse to come up with a list of what I would research if I wanted to do that. Like where would I look? Where could I see myself fitting into a market without actually having to go through with it?
Yeah, because I think looking at that can really help you think, actually, am I missing any tricks in my current genre?
Yeah.
And also, maybe you will decide to change genre. Who knows? You said you're very flexible. You might just get to the end of the conversation and be like, you know what, actually, I'm going to become a romantasy author. I'm in.
Oh, no, I'm not. No. but maybe.
But maybe. So I think that will be really useful just as like a thought experiment that helps us really understand writing to market from a different perspective. I think this is a really useful kind of set of conversations we've had recently. It's just like looking at topics from different perspectives. And I think next week will be a useful one too. So thank you everyone that's listened this week, even to our very long initial chat. Hopefully that was useful to hear about how exhaustion is being pulled back from the brink, and we maybe won't die of tiredness. Fingers crossed.
Maybe.
And yes, thank you so much for joining us. Do all the things, like and subscribe and tell friends about us. Send love, join the Discord. It is lovely to be joined by you all, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to Pen to Paycheck Authors.
Stay tuned for our next episode, and don't forget to subscribe to learn how to write your way to financial success.